name's Ian Kemp. I'm the fire chief here in the city of Temple Terrace. As we recognize National Hurricane Preparation Week, I want to remind you that preparation is the key to protecting yourself, your family, and your home during this hurricane season. Here are a few important steps that I'd like to go over with you. Number one, make a plan. Know your evacuation zone, routes, and create a family communication plan. Number two, build an emergency kit. Include water, non-perishable food, medication, flashlights, batteries, and all the supplies and food for your pets. Also, plan for special needs. Register with emergency management in your area if you or your loved ones require special assistance during the evacuation period. Remember, hurricane season is right around the corner on June 1st. Taking these simple steps can mean all the difference in the world when a storm approaches.
You sit up straight and look good. So good evening and welcome everybody to the May 6th meeting of the Temple Terrace City Council. It's nice to see everybody. I'd like to remind you to please silence your electronic devices. And if you would, please stand and join me in the invocation and the pledge. Lord, we ask for your guidance tonight as we pursue the work of self-governance. We are thankful that we live in a country where our natural rights are enshrined in law and we can freely elect our government leaders. Grant us wisdom to make decisions that advance the common welfare of all and move our city towards future prosperity. We pray especially for the Catholic Church as it embarks on the selection of a new pope who serves as an important spiritual figure for people of all faiths. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. So for those of you who don't often visit our meetings, welcome again. And we do have I keep saying it's a new tradition. I don't know how long it's new. We've been doing it for like 2 years, so it's not really new, I guess, anymore. But we have a tradition here in Temple Terrace where we begin the meeting with a fun or interesting fact about the city of Temple Terrace or the region that the city's in. And so tonight that duty falls on Councilmember Chambers.
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor. So last meeting, our historic fact was about the 911 system that we have now in the city. Everybody is used to that, calling for emergencies. But before that, each of the two big departments, fire and police, had their own phone numbers. And those numbers changed over the years, but the last iteration of those numbers, if you wanted emergency in the police, it was 989-7111. If you wanted fire, it was 989-7112. Now, growing up here, I remember on the refrigerators in our house and at the rec center when I worked on the phones, there were magnets. The police had one that looked like a police car. Does anybody remember those? Anybody? Yes. A little white police car, probably a Crown Vic. They had the number all over the place, and the fire had a fire emblem. I don't know what they had before that. But let me just pick on fire a little bit on that in a good way. Also in the mid-'70s, I was a volunteer firefighter for Temple Terrace. So back then, it was transitioning from a volunteer department to a fully paid department. So there was a paid shift of guys, 3 or 4 guys each shift. And if they went out on a call, they called the volunteers to come in. Now, the volunteers were called on a way with a device called the plectron. Chief, do you even remember any of it? You don't know. You weren't old enough. Don't say it. Okay. Okay. The plectron was a big box about the size of a VCR. You know, big box. And you plugged it in either to the wall or your cigarette lighter of your car. And when a call went out, the fire department guys with the radio in the truck would key their mic, and they had a tuning fork in the vehicle. And they would hit the tuning fork, and that particular frequency would set the plectrons off all around, that if you were a volunteer. And when that went off, it means you came to the station. So when you got to the fire station, which was kind of where the library is now, the old station with one bay, you went in the back door, and there was a chalkboard on the wall. Right above what's called the fire phone. On the desk was a red phone. That was the emergency phone. And when you walked in the back, they would have a code for what type of event it was. They only had 4 codes. Okay, so these were the codes. If you saw 1, that meant there was a structure fire. So this is what we had back in the 70s, the importance of Temple Terrace fire. 2 was a vehicle accident. Makes sense. 3 was a brush fire. Believe it or not, there was a lot of open space and we had a lot of brush fires. And 4, dumpster fire. Apparently, people like to set the dumpsters on fire. There was nothing back then. They didn't run medical calls. That was done. They didn't have a medical group then. So those were the 4 codes. So I'll give you 2 more examples of this. One time I was there kind of just hanging out with the fire guys, and a call came in on the fire phone. They answered it, Temple Terrace Fire Department, kind of what's your emergency? The lady on the other end, help, my kitchen's on fire. Hang up. There's no way to GPS. Nobody knows where it is. We just know somebody in the city has a kitchen on fire. She never left the address. We go up the ladder, because that time you could go on the roof, and we're standing on the roof looking around for smoke. The lady calls back, so we got to that. They got to that call. And then one where we got a call, and I was at Woodmont at my building, and the call came in. I called Ken Boyd, the director, and I said, we got 2 other employees here. I'm at the end of my shift. Can I leave a few minutes early? There's a fire somewhere. I go to the station. I walk in the back, see Class 1 structure fire, and my parents' address. So that was, my parents' house was on fire. So that was cool too, kind of. What it ended up was my old room caught on fire from a lightning strike, and so I told my mom, if you wanted me to clean my room, come get all my stuff out. You could have just told me. You didn't have to burn it. But anyway, that's my report. So that was the old days before 911.
Well, thank you, Councilmember Chambers. That was excellent. And I'm just looking at our younger employees, and they're still trying to figure out what a VCR is.
It was the video version of an 8-track.
I saw them. They're Googling it down low. What's a VCR? So, and incidentally, I was going to do this later, but now seems more appropriate. If my information is correct, if my spies are correct, I have it on my calendar. I've had it on my calendar for about a year now, that this coming weekend, I thought it was last weekend, but this coming weekend marks 50 years of service for Councilmember Chambers to the city of Temple Terrace. Now that's in different, yeah, right? And he disputed me the other day when I said that. He goes, no, because I retired and then it was a 2-year break before I ran for office. But he was on the library board for those 2 years. So it's 50 years of continuous service now. And so you started at, what, the age of 3 or 4, I guess.
Now, by 16.
Yeah,
I was a recreation aide at 16.
Anyhow, someday one of you are going to be sitting up here and somebody's going to be talking about you at 50 years of service, right? You look so excited about that, right? So, speaking of recognition, I'd like to call Kevin Templin to the podium. For those of you who know Kevin, for those of you who don't, this is one of our Parks and Rec employees, and he has been selected as the Employee of the Month. And that is no easy feat in Temple Terrace, particularly in leisure services, because you work with a tremendous group of people. And for those of you who were at River Jam this last week, that is 90% leisure services people that do that. And so that's the kind of stuff they do all the time. If you go to the rec center, you know the caliber of employee we have. These recognitions of Employee of the Month are voted on by their peers. They're not just selected by managers. So that really tells you something. When your colleagues vote you as Employee of the Month and working with the people that you work with, that really stands out. So would you like to say a few words?
Yeah, I just want to say that it's nice to be recognized, but also too, I appreciate my team and everyone I work with, because can't do it without them. So.
Well, they can't do it without you either. So thank you, and thank you to all of you. So, all right. Let's give them a round of applause. All right, guys, we have to stand up here.
Got a promotion. Jason got a promotion.
Hey.
Thank you. Good job.
Good job. Thank you.
Jason, you wear many hats.
Yeah.
So next item is a certificate of recognition. Oh, the next item is actually moved, ladies and gentlemen, to May 20th. That is our telecommunicator of the year, and we will be doing that on May 20th. So next we have a proclamation for Temple Terrace Day. I don't think anybody's going to receive this. We're just going to read it. Is that Cheryl? Is that okay? So this is in recognition of our official birthday. It actually isn't May 6th. It's May 28th. So we'll have to do it again on May 28th, Corey. She just turned in her retirement paper. This is in recognition of our centennial celebration. It says, whereas the city of Temple Terrace was officially incorporated on May 28th, 1925, and is celebrating its 100th anniversary. In 1914, Bertha Palmer purchased 19,000 acres of land and then named it River Hills and turned the most attractive part of it into the hunting preserve and ranch. After her death in 1918, the River Hills property was sold to a Tampa real estate developer who resold it to a group of prominent individuals, including Maud Fowler, D. Collins Gillette, who began to work on Temple Terrace development plans comprised of beautiful homes, parks, playgrounds, winding boulevards lined with tropical trees and flowers, clubhouses, and an impressive golf course. Today, the winding roads, expansive golf course, giant oak trees, and attractive 1920s town plans still exist within a community that retains a small town atmosphere while offering large town amenities. Temple Terrace residents have a long and rich history, and the Temple Terrace community continues to hold fast to its traditions and efforts to beautify and enhance this community. The mayor, city council, employees, and residents envisioned a year-long celebration in this proclamation to mark the centennial anniversary of the city of Temple Terrace. Various community events are planned throughout the year in honor of our city and its history. The city of Temple Terrace welcomes all community organizations, businesses, and residents to celebrate this centennial and participate in the festivities throughout the year 2025. Therefore, I, Andy Ross, by virtue of authority vested in me as the mayor of the city of Temple Terrace, Florida, do hereby proclaim and honor May 28, 2025 as the official 100th anniversary and incorporation of the city of Temple Terrace, and mark this day as Temple Terrace Day, in which residents can honor our past, present, and most importantly, I think, our future. I wish to congratulate the community on celebrating the legacy of Temple Terrace while beginning Temple Terrace's next 100 years. Which, if history proves anything, will be 100 years of growth filled with remarkable achievements. And so congratulations to everybody. This is for everybody in the city. And this will be, once we fix a typo on the first line, we will, I guess we all missed it because I signed this too. So this will be displayed in City Hall in the case outside the council chambers. So anybody's welcome to come in anytime and take a look at it. Next, we have a proclamation for 2025 National Police Week, and our new police chief, Rob Staley, is here to receive the proclamation. Welcome, Chief.
Evening.
Good evening. Whereas the Congress and President of the United States have designated May 15th as Peace Officers Memorial Day and the week in which May 15th falls as National Police Week. 165 law enforcement officers in the United States lost their lives in the line of duty last year. The preliminary reports as of April 21st of this year indicate that an additional 21 law enforcement officers throughout the country have already lost their lives in the line of duty this year. Temple Terrace police officers play an essential role in safeguarding the rights and freedoms of the citizens of Temple Terrace. Temple Terrace Fire police officers unwaveringly serve all people, safeguarding lives and property, protecting our community against violence and disorder, the innocent against deception, and weak against oppression and intimidation. Since the first recorded death of a law enforcement officer in 1786, more than 25,000 law enforcement officers in the United States have made the ultimate sacrifice. Therefore, I, Andy Ross, by virtue of the authority vested in me as mayor of the city of Temple Terrace, Florida, do hereby proclaim the week of May 11th through 17th, 2025 as National Police Week. And so, Chief, would you like to say a few words?
Thank you. really want to thank you for the proclamation. It means a lot to the men and women of this agency, and I want to thank you all for your support. We really have a tough job out there sometimes, and we couldn't do this job effectively without all of your help and your guidance. I think you have an amazing department here. It's really excellent. We are effective. We're effective because we have your support. We have the community support. I think that we're going places here. I think this is an awesome agency, and this is really a great time to thank your officers here in your community. I just wanted to mention 2 events that we have coming up. The Law Enforcement Canine Memorial is coming up on May 23rd at 8:30 a.m. Everyone is welcome to attend. It's open to the public. We also have our Citizens Police Academy on June 21st at 7:30. So we have applications online if you want to attend.
Very good, thanks. And Chief, you've heard me say this at least 100 times. The community in this city truly supports law enforcement and our police department. We never have any, even in 2020 when the winds were blowing a little weird, we never had any of our community that wavered in that support. But that's a symbiotic relationship. It's a two-way street. And part of the reason that our community is so pro police department is because of the way the police department polices the city. I mean, they treat people with respect. They truly enforce the law, but they do it in a very professional and very courteous manner when possible. And so they take care of your officers take care of them, and it works out great. So thank you to you, your command staff, and all your staff.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
You guys learn it every day.
Let's do another one.
All right, one more. Tiffany Beltran. She's been patiently waiting. So have her kids. I like those new shirts.
Thank you. Right off the press.
So this is a proclamation regarding Water Safety Month. And so this proclamation reads, the City of Temple Terrace is committed to providing water safety education to all residents and visitors. According to the Florida Department of Health, Florida is ranked the highest in the U.S. for drowning death rate among children ages 1 through 4. Annually, deaths in Florida due to drowning among children ages 1 through 4 are enough to fill up 4 preschool classrooms. As a community, we understand the essential role that protecting our children from accidental drowning is everyone's responsibility, and understand the vital importance of providing access to water safety education and programs to families and individuals of all ages. We recognize that it takes a collaborative effort among all groups within the community to be advocates for water safety education. Water Safety Month is an Water Safety Month is an opportunity to promote water safety and provide education on the prevention of recreational water-related injuries, illnesses, and death. Now therefore I, Andy Ross, by virtue of the authority vested in me as mayor of the city of Temple Terrace, Florida, do hereby proclaim the month of May as Water Safety Month. And for those of you who don't know Tiffany Beltran, she is the, what is your title? Aquatic Supervisor? Is that the correct?
Recreation Supervisor of Aquatics.
Recreation Supervisor of Aquatics. She's the charge of the pools, right? So would you like to say a few words?
Yes, please. With drowning statistics on the rise, it is vital to implement water safety measures into our community. Research shows that students who take swim lessons are 88% less likely to drown, highlighting the importance of aquatics education. So with our team, we would be able to serve our community with the dedication of our water safety team. The guys in white shirts, just a few of them. Thanks to their effort, last year we instructed over 700 swimmers through swim lessons. We had multiple CPR trainings throughout the year. Additionally, we provided water safety education to seven local Temple Terrace and Hillsborough County schools. And then we equip individuals of all ages with life safety skills. So this is just a few members of my team.
Why don't you introduce them?
Oh, yes. This is Ben. Ben is one of our lead guards. Karan, he's one of our swim instructors. Layla's a lifeguard, but she's new to the swim lesson team. And then Susie, you'll see her this month on the aquatics marketing that we go out every week with water safety tips. So check in for our social media page.
Very good. Well, thank you guys for being here. I know you probably have other places to be this evening, but thank you so much for being here. And thank you for all you do. We all see you at the pool, so I hope you don't ever have to save one of us, but we do see you, so thank you for everything you do.
I'm gonna be behind you.
All right, let me squeeze in there if I can. There we go. How's that? Does that look good? Here. Good to see you.
Thank you, guys.
This week. Question came up of why I have a flower on the dais. That's in honor of Police Week. So, okay, that's the last proclamation. Now we have a board appointment where there's one vacancy on the Hillsborough River Technical Advisory Committee. We have one application from David Glicksberg. I met Mr. Glicksberg at River Jam. He said he was going to try to be here, but he wasn't sure, and I don't see him here. So, is there a motion to approve the appointment of David Glicksberg as a member of the Hillsborough River Technical Advisory Committee for a term extending from May 6, 2025 until May 6, 2029?
So moved.
Who made the motion?
I'll give it to you.
Vice Mayor Schistler made the motion. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Councilmember Kravitz. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? No nays. Mr. Glicksberg is appointed. Thank you for your service. Has everybody had an opportunity to review the meeting of our April 15th City Council meeting? And if so, is there a motion to approve the minutes?
So moved. Second.
Motion by Councilmember Kravitz, seconded by Vice Mayor Schistler. Any corrections to the minutes? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? No nays. Minutes are adopted. Next, persons wishing to be heard on items not listed on the agenda or items on the consent agenda. There are requests to speak forms in the back of the room for those of you who wish to sign up to speak. We currently have 2 requests to speak. I think they're both for this section. They are. We have a 30-minute time limit for this portion of the meeting. I only have 2 people signed up. That's 6 minutes, so we won't have a problem with that. And we do ask that you come to the podium and state your name and city of residence prior to speaking, and that you have a 3-minute time limit imposed on all comments. And so first request is from Mr. Loeb.
Charles Loeb from Terrace Park. First thing I want to do is thank Councilman Chambers for coming on April 28th to our Writers Club and also to the comic books. The library was giving away comic books. I did go there and check Wednesday afternoon, and it looked like they were pretty successful in Wednesday morning, and they did seem to be pretty successful in giving away the comic books. So that was good, and I hope you enjoyed being over with meeting our group. The second item I have tonight has to do with River Jam, but probably not a focus what you all were talking on. Much of the time I was over there, I was talking to the folks who did the comp plan. I came up with a couple of flyers in case you all missed it, and I do want to leave them for the city because you use a QR code. This first one has to do with the City of Temple Terrace's comprehensive plan, getting an update, and we need you. They have a QR code. So if you all missed this, I'll leave this so you can all get in on the QR code. They're going to begin in 2026, and they're trying to get public involvement. The other flyer has to do with Temple Terrace multi-module trail study. It also has a QR code, but the interesting thing, the difference between the 2 flyers, which is a little bit hard to understand, is, although one is from the TPO, is the fact that you have a chance to win a $100 grocery gift certificate for the TPO flyer, not for the comp plan, but that's neither here nor yonder. Finally, I did want to make a few comments about the board meeting I was at yesterday for HART. I think that I made my point. 5 seemed to be the number of the day, being Cinco de Mayo or 5/5/25. I also was the 5th speaker, and I handed out to the board $5 bills. Now, the reason I handed out $5 bills was because of the fact that that has to do symbolically. Government of the people, by the people, and for the people shall not be abridged by the state legislature or the state government, as far as I'm concerned. As was stated, if you do not protest or anything like that, people will just assume that it's okay to do evil. As far as I'm concerned, that's what they did. I did talk to this woman named Cassandra over at, sort of privately. I talked to her about van pooling in certain areas. I talked to her about rush hour buses and weekend service. And finally, I took the $100. The HART can't take the money directly, but I would like to inspire people to give them HART the money indirectly. For example, I gave some money to some of the people that use Flamingo passes. I also gave some to the church for the one-day passes, and I brought some from my neighbors in the building for HART Plus.
Thank you,
Hope
Mr.
other people will follow.
Thank you, Mr. Loeb. Mr. Meade Lewis. Good evening, sir.
Hey, thank you everyone. So I handed out 2 copies of a 64-page proposal to eliminate the Formosan termite from our city. So this has been replicated in 4 different cities around the world, including New Orleans, Santiago, Chile, again another application in Armstrong Park, New Orleans, as well as 5 different city centers across Spain. Specifically speaking, this is by using termite bait stations that within 90 days will eliminate the termites darn near entirely. A lot of the research in that document that you'll see shows that the termites are completely eliminated within about 12 months is what you see. Now, what makes this a really cool idea for Temple Terrace? Well, first of all, we have a major Formosan termite problem, all right? Second, we're in termite season right now. If you don't believe me about our termite problem, go look at your street lamp tonight. All right. But we also have 2 of the world's leading experts, willing to help us. We have Dr. Catone out of New Orleans. She ran the project for the control in New Orleans. She's willing to put her research head into eliminating this problem for Temple Terrace, has already agreed, as well as Dr. Thomas Chovanec out of University of Florida, who again is a world-leading researcher. On all of the research documents that you will see one of those 2 names appearing on pretty much every study related to termites. So bait stations are very effective for area-wide control. And so what I'm proposing is that we do our own little A/B test here. We select a community, neighborhood within Temple Terrace, and we provide 50% of the funding, the city does, to provide those buildings and those structures with those bait stations. I have tentatively selected an area over south of St. Augustine, east of Riverside Park, west of St. Glenn Avenue. I've counted 96 structures. It's a 1.2 mile perimeter. And I think that we should do it for 24 months. What this would cost the city, if we're covering 50% of the costs, is $96,000 roughly, and that is a very liberal figure. It's probably going to be closer to half of that, is my understanding. But how we approach this is by doing public bidding, which brings down the costs on everybody. Having it go through a public bidding process. That's what was done in New Orleans. That's what was done in Chile. That's what's been replicated elsewhere. So that's my time. Oh, 10.4 days of termite eating.
Wow.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Lewis. Mr. Young.
How's everybody doing today? So I just wanted to, I can set this up here. I can wait for a second to start my clock, but I don't know if most of you are familiar with Mr. Jim Dent. Mr. Jim Dent was a pillar of the community. He was he was one of my best friends. I met Mr. Jim Dent 30 years ago when I was 11 years old. He took me under his wing. He treated me right. He respected me, and I respected him. Mr. Dent was a Temple Terrace resident for many, many years. He lived over here behind the club, and he's done a lot for this community. Not only Temple Terrace, but the city of Tampa, First Tee program, you name it, he's done it. And not only that, but the sincerity that came from this man was like none other. I put him up there with what I call the last of the Mohicans. The man was the same guy every day whenever you talked to him. He was never different. He never steered away from what he did and what he said. And he would always stay true to what he did and what he said he was going to do. And very humble man. Could walk into any dealership here in Tampa and buy whatever car he wanted to. But at the end of the day, he drove a 99 Honda CR-V. Okay? So with that being said, Mr. Dent has put a lot into this. They found him last week. I got word from one of my former co-partners, friends, that he had a mass fire attack right before the Masters. And Georgia State Patrol found him on the side of the road, passed out when he had a mass fire attack and died. He had been dead for over an hour. And this hat here is 27 years old. There's Mr. Dent's name there. There's Arnold Palmer's name there. A few others, Lee Trevino, Chichi Rodriguez, it's just to name a few. But if it wasn't for Mr. Dent and Mr. Rick Bradshaw and them taking me underneath their wing, I would have never been able to meet these type of men here and be able to get the opportunity that I did playing golf at a young age, because most guys like that, they don't want to have anything to do with a young kid. I mean, they have their own things going on. They're wanting to make money. They're wanting to play golf, but he took me under his wing and he treated me well. And I'm glad to call him my best friend. And just up until last week, I spoke to him. For the last 30 years, I've continued to keep in touch with him, speak to him weekly, on a weekly basis. And I have some pictures in my pocket. Years ago, we didn't get a chance to have these nice little pictures, so all my memories are here. 1996, 97, you didn't have a nice little phone where you could take pictures, so I got him to meet me up at the club, and when I got him to meet me at the club to take pictures with me and my son and my father, he was actually there waiting on us. We were early, but he was there waiting on us. So I would like to ask the council real quick, I know time's up, but I talked to the club and the head pro, and I would like to see if there's something, and I'll help out, however I can as far as monetary-wise, to commemorate Mr. Dent.
You're going to have to wrap up.
Okay? So if there's something we could do for him to maybe make a Jim Dent Day and maybe a plaque or something like that, that's what I'm asking from the council. So I've left my email there if you guys can correspond and collaborate with me, let me know.
Well, thank you for sharing your memories, Mr. Young, and I'm sorry
Thank
for
you
the
very
loss of
much.
your friend.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Move to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
Motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? No nays. Consent agenda is adopted. Next item is a resolution approving a change order to EZ Contracting LLC for construction related to the ARPA Mabel Place and North River Hills Drive Stormwater Project. Our city engineer, Brian McCarthy, is here to explain. Good evening, Mr. McCarthy.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor and City Council. Brian McCarthy, your city engineer, and I'm here this evening to seek approval for a change order to EZ Contracting for the ARPA Mabel Place and River Hills Drive Stormwater Improvement Project. So back in October of 2024, City Council approved Resolution 98-24 to EZ Contracting for a little less than $1.2 million. Well, since construction started this year, there have been a number of unforeseen construction-related concerns or changes that we've had to change. 3 of those 5 changes involved adjusting the water main conflicts. For example, our record drawings showed the water main perhaps going with 2 45-degree turns rather than what we expected out in the, or excuse me, what we experienced out in the field was a 90-degree turn. So the water main wasn't where we expected it to be. Another change involved a design update to replace an existing stormwater inlet. And the last and probably the largest change is related to unsuitable soils that we discovered underneath of the existing roadway. Since I've been here, we haven't ran into any unsuitable soils. And also to find them underneath of an existing roadway was very surprising for us. What makes this clay soil unsuitable is some of its soil characteristics. For example, the clay is highly plasticity, which basically means that if it'll compress under pressure or change its shape under pressure. And so being underneath the road with vehicle loads, there's a concern that the soil might change its shape or adjust a little bit, and again, causing some type of roadway damage or even shifting the drainage pipe out of its alignment. Since River Hills is one of our major local roads for us, we wanted to follow the standard Florida Department of Transportation construction standards and just want to replace the existing poor soils that are out there. So based upon these 5 changes that I just listed, the change order request is for $295,375.41 for a new purchase order of a little less than $1.5 million or $1,493,274.18. This additional amount would be paid through the Street Improvement Fund. It's just a reminder, when council approved this back in October, the original $1.2 million was funded through the American Rescue Plan Act, which was using federal dollars. So at this time, staff is recommending that City Council approve the change order for easy contracting. I'm available for any questions.
Thank you, Mr. McCarthy. Are there members of the public who wish to comment on this item? Council member questions. Vice Mayor Schisler.
I have 3 real quick ones. One, how old were the as-built on that project? Or did they even exist?
The water main, I want to say, was when the original subdivision was constructed. So we're probably looking at the 70s or 80s, if I had to guess.
Okay, but did we have as-built or?
We did. It was just that the water main was turning later than we expected it to turn.
And the natural clay, was that natural to that location, or was that brought in, or do you know?
I don't know. I wouldn't expect that they would have brought that soil in because, again, using today's standards, it's considered unsuitable unless roadway construction changed throughout, since the 80s or 90s. But I don't have a 100% answer for you.
And how much soil is we're going to take that out and put new in?
That's correct.
How much? Any idea?
I don't have the cubic yards for you, other than it's probably close to 200 truckloads.
Okay, cool, thank you. That's the questions I had. Thank you.
Other questions, council members?
Yes.
Councilmember Fernandez.
So just getting back to the soil issue, is that, you stated that is not appropriate for where it is currently located and that it probably wasn't brought in that, but we don't have any other soil like that in this city that you've
I've
encountered?
experienced. So with the few water main projects and force main or sewer main type projects, any other pipe projects that we've done, we haven't ran into it yet.
Okay, so when we were bidding this project out, we're basing, or at least when the bids are submitted and the companies are accumulating their information to submit the bid, they don't necessarily come out and do any kind of testing. They're basing it on what they know of the conditions in the area.
That's correct. They're not doing any testing. They're basing it off of our construction plans that we designed.
Okay, and since this soil was not expected to be found in this location, this isn't something that we could have done differently in the original bid process?
Not that I know of.
Okay. As far as the dollar increase for the ARPA funds, we have allocated every dollar of the ARPA funds, correct? We don't have any, there's nothing sitting in a reserve for change orders.
That's correct.
Okay, so with this change order, That sounds like I mean, I'm not a construction expert. That sounds like a lot of trucks of dirt, which means it sounds like there's an extended time to this construction project. Will that have any impact on the various ARPA deadlines that we need to meet in order to, because we're going to pay this portion out of city funds, but obviously we don't want to forego any of the earmarked ARPA funds.
There won't be any impact to the ARPA funds as we have until December of 2026 to expend those funds. So this project should still be completed sometime this year.
Okay, within the year of 2025?
Yes.
Okay. That's it.
Councilmember Chambers.
Thank you. You mentioned this funding would come out of the street improvement fund. Will it absorb this? Is there enough in the fund to handle this?
City Manager.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of council. There are two items on the agenda this evening, this one and the next one, which actually will be, if the council approves it, funded through the Street Improvement Fund. After these items are funded, there will still be a balance of about $3.5 million in that fund, basically, which is largely from the gas tax. So there's sufficient capital right now to cover these projects.
Thank you.
Councilmember Kravitz.
One quick question and then a follow-up. I'll bundle it together so it's easier. Is it expensive to do a soil sample? And given the surprising amount of this, do you think it makes sense to integrate that into a standard procedure in the future?
We can certainly look at adding an additional geotech function into our design process, yes.
Got it. Thanks.
Okay, if there are no more questions, council, is there a motion?
Move to approve the resolution approving a change order to Easy Contracting LLC for construction related to the ARPA Mabel Place and North River Hills Drive Stormwater Improvement Project.
Second.
Motion by Councilmember Fernandez, seconded by Councilmember Chambers. Any discussion of the motion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? No nays. Resolution is adopted. Thank you, Mr. McCarthy. Next item is a resolution approving a stormwater pipelining project in the amount of $254,923.70 with Atlantic Pipe Services through a piggyback contract, and our Public Works Director / photographer, Jason Warrensfeld, is here to explain.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Council, Jason Warrenfeld, your Public Works Director. After the impact of Hurricanes Helene and Milton, depressions were discovered along Glen Ridge Avenue within 4 private residential properties, of which the city has an easement for stormwater conveyance. I'm here today to request your approval for a resolution authorizing the City of Temple Terrace to proceed with a stormwater infrastructure improvement project. This resolution seeks approval of a proposal from Atlantic Pipe Services in the amount of $254,923.70 for stormwater pipelining services. This project is critical to maintaining the integrity and functionality of our stormwater system, preventing further degradation and ensuring public safety and environmental compliance. The contract is being awarded as a piggyback bid using the terms and conditions of a competitive bid contract with the villages under the contract RFP 24P007. This approach allows us to leverage established pricing into contract terms, ensuring cost effectiveness and efficiency in the procurement. The funding for this project will come out of the Street Improvement Fund. This was not a previously budgeted item, but the Street Improvement Fund has sufficient surplus for this to occur. The work is being submitted to FEMA for possible reimbursement. And staff requests that the council adopt the resolution, approves the proposal from Atlantic Pipe Services, and authorize the payment as outlined. And I will stand for questions.
Thank you, Mr. Warrenfeld. Are there members of the public who wish to comment on this item? Council member, questions? Vice Mayor Schister.
I apologize, I coughed. What was the street that this is located on?
I'm sorry, it's Glen Ridge Avenue.
Glen Ridge, okay.
Mm-hmm. Councilmember Fernandez.
Can you describe for the people who are listening or watching exactly how does this project improve the stormwater collection or transportation? How will lining the pipes actually fulfill our quest for transporting the stormwater correctly?
So the pipe lining, it's a cure-in-place pipe. So it's a liquid material that is injected into the pipe, and it is expanded and cured onto the concrete structure that's underground. So what that does is we do not have to dig in the residents' yards. We will cure the pipe and expand the longevity of it being underground.
So I guess, can you describe for us what is the problem that has caused the stormwater drainage to be an issue in this area that's on the city's easement and, and part of our stormwater system? What is the problem?
So the amount of rain that the city received during the storms, the soils, as we just talked about, the soil shifted around, which allows the pipes to flex. They move, and this creates voids in the ground under the yards, and those soils pass through the pipes because of the voids, and it allows the lawns to sink. So what we're going to do is we'll line the pipe, and then we'll backfill the yards, and we'll fix the depressions.
Okay, and then the lining of the pipes, the product that you're talking about, I know that this helps because we're not having to dig up everything and make it an enormous project, but what's the lifespan of this? And because what I'm looking at is the cost benefit of using this product, extending the life or putting in a whole new system. Which one is more cost effective?
So if you look at the project that the city engineer just spoke of on Mabel, the similar size of pipe is being used on Mabel. That project is 1.2 million. So if you take that plus the project that was just completed on Breger Bannockburn, another 800,000. So there's $2 million worth of projects where this pipe here could potentially cost $750,000 to $1 million to replace, go along with those. So you'd have 3 projects for $3 million where we're going to line this for $254,000 and save the disruption. We're going to save all that construction, and it's a quicker process where we just put the cure in place pipe in.
Thank you.
Other questions? Councilmember Kravitz.
Quick one. I remember we were discussing pipelining about a month or two ago in general, and that we were thinking about rolling that out across the city at locations where we had a suspicion that the pipe that was in place already was subject to a burst. I was just wondering if you might be willing to update us a little bit on where we're at with that.
So this project here is different from those projects. Those projects were around the wastewater collection system. So this is, from my understanding, the first stormwater pipe that has been lined. It's a safer alternative than to put a project together in the time frame. As far as pipe lining, the city engineer and myself, and I've had a conversation with the city manager about expanding these projects. But again, that takes cammering, that takes some planning for. It also takes some capital dollars. The city does not have a stormwater impact fee that would offset some of this, $254,000, some of this expense. But with the street improvement fund, we have some dollars that we can look at projects that are significantly degrading. So,
do we need to apportion more money toward that end, or I'm assuming that's some sort of like camera-based system that you put through the pipe to see where it needs to be repaired, or what would we be looking at?
So the utility department does have a camera system. We do ask them to camera our stormwater pipes, but there's also a cleaning practice between those because we don't mix the two. So we do camera them now, but it's on request.
So do you have everything you need in order to investigate all this?
Today, yes.
Okay. Godspeed. Thank you.
Anything, James? No. Okay, if there are no other questions, is there a motion? Thank you, Mr. Warrenfels.
Move to approve, move to approve resolution approving the proposal from Atlantic Pipe Systems in the amount of $254,923.70 for stormwater pipe lining.
Second.
Councilmember Vice Mayor Schister made a motion, seconded by Councilmember Chambers. Any discussion of the motion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? No nays. Thank you very much. Moving on to council business, there are a couple of items. The first item of council business is the city clerk candidate selection process. As you know, the application period recently closed. The applicants were divided into 3 groups. There were those who did not meet minimum criteria, those who did meet minimum criteria, and those who were vetted for preferred qualifications And the short list of preferred qualified candidates was given to us in numbers of 5. And so 2 of those, 3 of those are from Florida, local, and 2 of them are from out of town. So we have set aside a date already to conduct these interviews. What we need to decide here tonight is who, if any, of the 5 preferred candidates we would like to interview. So I will open that up.
First, my first question about this is, what is the recommendation as to how many candidates we should interview? I mean, set the pool too big?
That's up to us. I know the HR director has previously said 3 to 5 would be ideal. Personally, I'm concerned in looking for, I don't want to get ahead of myself here, but if we bring people from out of town in, we should have a really good reason for wanting to do that, because it's going to be at our expense. So,
That's why I just wanted to set that perimeter.
yeah. Well, ideally, it would be 3 to 5, but there's no, if we're just not thrilled about them, there's no we don't have to interview anybody. So that answer your?
Yes.
Okay. Councilmember Kravitz.
So, first of all, I thought it was fantastic. We got over 400, I think, applicants, and I think over 30 were qualified. So I think it's a really incredible group, and it just shows what kind of a draw that we have. Fantastic. The only person that, well, there were a few actually who stood out to me, but I'm very interested in hearing from Catherine Paler-Amaya. So that would be one suggestion for me. I like that she had a JD. I think that's incredibly important in that role, because handling FOIA and sunshine requests is so essential for a city clerk. So I think there's a lot to commend her. I yield the floor.
Vice Mayor?
I had three that I felt it was worthwhile to interview. We said names? We'll do the names?
We need to, yeah.
One was not local, Linda Satter, Leanne Andres, I hope I'm not butchering the names too much, and then Ruth Weskowitz. Was like 2 of them for out of town. I was not too much sold on the attorney. It was, we weren't, we had no, we weren't even certified as a city clerk, but if we get the job, we'll seek certification. So I felt that was a problem. But at any rate, those are my 3 that I would like to interview, if at all possible.
Okay, let me start.
Yeah.
Okay. Councilmember Kravitz, you mentioned one name, Paler-Amaya, right?
Yes.
Okay, let me keep track of this. Who did you mention, Vice Mayor?
Sater,
Okay,
Andres, and Ruth. I might just say.
yeah, I don't either, but I know who you're talking about, so I'll get it. Okay, Councilmember Chambers?
Give me a second, my tablet's not working. I
Oh,
have to
okay.
borrow his list.
Well, Councilmember Fernandez.
I'm doing the same thing.
Oh.
They're updating. Sorry. An IT thing, give me just a second.
I probably have it up like 6 times is the problem. Okay, so
Whoever's ready first can go. I'll just-
I mean, if, of the 5 candidates, I thought that they all looked highly qualified. So, if, I have no problem with interviewing 5. Would it be possible, because I do agree, bringing people in from out of town is our, obviously it's gonna be our expense. Would it be possible to interview the local candidates? And if those local candidates don't turn out to have a viable or preferred choice, we could expand the search?
I don't know. That would be a question for Mr. Nazario, but that was going to be my suggestion as well, is we have 2, in my opinion, the top 2 qualified candidates are local. That was gonna be my suggestion too, is to interview those two, but, you wanna answer now, or you wanna, Mr. Nazario?
Good evening, Mayor and City Council. My opinion, I think you should, if you're going to interview, I would want to interview everyone all at once. So I think if a concern, it's not necessarily just if they're local, but it's just if they're available on the date that you've all set aside. So I think if they're local, it's more likely that they're going to be available on that day. If we have to coordinate travel plans for the candidates that are outside of town, we can certainly attempt to. But it's really up to you all to decide if you at least want to interview that person and talk to that person directly.
So my other question is, would it be viable to have a first interview with people that are not local through a Teams meeting or Zoom or something like that? Would that be considered unfair if the people who were local came in person and the people who were from out of town did not come in person?
Usually if you do conduct a virtual interview, this is just normal practice. At one point you would want to meet that person in person. So if you did like them, you would want to eventually have them come down and meet them at one point anyway. So if you're at the point when you liked other candidates and you were getting ready to make a decision based off the ones who were available to attend in-person interviews, I wouldn't recommend being in a position where you still want to now fly someone back in to at least check off that box. So whatever makes. I mean, it really just comes down to, I think it's easier just to determine who you're interested in meeting and conducting an interview with. And then as far as the city staff, we'll do the best we can to try to coordinate that for you all.
Well,
Councilmember Fernandez still has the floor.
I mean, I would be interested in interviewing all 5 of them. I think even though there are people located out of town, they seem highly qualified. And I don't necessarily want to restrict our applicant pool. I want to do the best. It's going to be the most cost-effective, but also give us access to the best candidate choices.
Okay, Councilmember, you finished? Councilmember Chambers.
Yeah, I showed the mayor my one out. Unfortunately, my one out is one someone else particularly asked for. So a comment, though, to the council. I think whatever we do, we need to do the same for all the candidates at the same time. We shouldn't interview a couple first and then, unless they're all terrible, then we go out. But we shouldn't worry if we have to bring people in, we pay that fee, bring them in, and go forward the same way, because I don't think it's fair if we even do it different days. So that's just my opinion.
So what's your suggestion, all 5? Is that what you're saying?
Well, my one's different than the one, somebody particularly requested my one out, so I don't know how we want to do it. If we want to do the 3 local, I don't think it should matter whether they're local or not. It's going to cost us a little bit more money, but if those are our, some we want to look at.
Okay, so I need a recommendation.
Recommendation. So I have to make the recommendation?
Yes, you do.
Okay. If I'm going to make a recommendation, I'm going to recommend that we interview all 5.
Okay. Well,
But
ladies,
that's just me, and someone has to second, and I'm good.
okay.
I second it. If that's a
Well,
motion.
we haven't, we're not making a motion just yet. You guys are cutting me out of the process.
Okay. Give that back to Mr.
I don't have any, who's this going to? Oh. I have preferences among the 5, but I'm not opposed to interview, or to having them all 5 come in if we can get them here. That's fine. That's fine. All 5. I don't think we need a motion for that. We're just giving direction. So, Okay, let's see if we can get them all 5 here.
And clarification, like other positions at this level, we're paying expenses?
Yep.
Yep, okay.
Yep, yeah, it will cost us to bring them in. We have 2 out of town. One is in Kansas and one's in Chicago, so the others are here, so. Okay, sounds good, all 5.
Thank you.
Very good, thank you. All righty, next item is a council discussion on placing items on the agenda. This was,
Point of order on that, Mr. Mayor. So, in the minutes from the previous meeting, we decided to add a presentation, we decided to discuss presentations, not making main motions. So, it seems to me that the incorrect item is on the agenda.
no, I think our discussion focused on how items are placed on the agenda. If somebody wants to make a presentation, how that gets placed on the agenda.
No, sir, the minutes can be read, if I may. I have a copy of the minutes from the previous.
I don't need you to read the minutes to me.
It says specifically presentations.
Okay, what action would you like to happen now?
This item is not germane, so we shouldn't discuss it. This is not the appropriate item on the agenda. You can discuss presentations, but that's not on the agenda.
City Attorney.
I think that the word, if I'm understanding the point of order, that the word items could encompass anything. And if one of those items be a presentation, I don't think that this particular agenda, this particular item in its title is misleading. So, an item could include anything. So if you want to specifically discuss placing presentations on the agenda, then I think that's encompassed in it, and it's up to council then to decide if they want to discuss that particular item at this time.
Councilmember Kravitz, I was about to call on you to make the presentation anyway. Do you not want to do it?
I'd like to address the point that the city attorney just raised.
Okay, I don't want to argue over the title of the agenda item. If you want to make a presentation, I'll recognize you and give you the floor.
Based on the documents I received, it said that you were the presenter.
Okay, can I?
Yes, please.
Okay.
Councilmember Chambers.
All right, so however it got on here, we have an agenda item, and it's been, it's got a cover letter, it's an agenda item, it's on our agenda, and we have backup information, and I don't think we have a policy that we were gonna discuss, whether we even want a policy, but these are some ideas on how council members get items on an agenda. So I'm not uncomfortable moving forward with this item, whether it was intended for presentations or not. It's an agenda item. So that's just and we can just say, we don't vote for this item to move it forward, but it's on the agenda.
Councilmember, I don't know what you want to happen here. I'm prepared to turn it over to you and let you discuss. I'm prepared to, I don't know what you want us to do. Do you want us to table it again? What do you propose that we do?
Yielding the floor to me?
I'm asking you a question.
I didn't particularly care for this whole discussion. It was raised last time. I thought we would gain a little bit of time to research the issues, which I, of course, did. And, as we gathered more information by email, as it trundled in, I noticed, for one thing, that the minutes from the last time, we took a 5-0 vote to discuss presentations and how they would be made potentially by council members. What I then subsequently received in email was a document illustrating what a main motion is, which I assume we all know because we make them all the time. So in the context of what the research was that staff conducted and the item that was placed on the agenda, which was not the agenda item that we voted on at the previous council session, it seems like this whole thing is a little bit murky. And then I also, of course, noticed that the incorrect version of Robert's Rules of Order was used. So that's the other thing. And I think it's fair to say that if we're going to have a presentation on something, it should be on the valid parliamentary authority and not on the one that isn't valid anymore. So that's another reason why I think that having this discussion today is a little bit premature. And I don't really have any desire to have the discussion at all. So my motion would be to table it which would take it off the agenda permanently. So I'm happy to make that motion if everyone else wants that. I think that the previous practice that we've had, where everyone just submits their agenda item by a deadline, has worked really well for, 50 years? And not only that, we voted in February to approve these, the order of business that we're currently using. And this was revised, January 21st, 2025. So I don't really see why we are opening this up. If we can just submit an item and then have it on the agenda, we have cutoff dates. That's worked for a long time, and it says that right here in, I just dig around here for another minute. It was number 8. In any case, it's a custom that we've been, here it is. Number 5B, any item not filed with the city manager by noon of the Wednesday preceding may be placed on the agenda. So that seems to work fine. And otherwise, you can make a majority vote at the meeting. So we could have a majority vote now to put this item on the agenda, but we didn't do it last time. So I yield the floor to whoever wants it.
Okay, well, let me try, okay.
Hold on here a second. Let me catch up to what's going on here because I'm going to declare your motion out of order because it's assuming facts that the whole point of the agenda item is the point of this is to determine those facts. So I'm going to declare the motion out of order because it includes what some of us believe is a misrepresentation of the facts, in that that is not the current procedure. There's discussion, there's debate about whether that's the current procedure. That was the point of having the discussion in the first place. We can have the discussion. I'm trying to figure out what to do procedurally. We can have the discussion despite your opinion that it's incorrect. We can still have the same discussion. We can table this to the next meeting, a date certain. We can table it and take it off the table, but that's going to go right back to what our common practice has been in the past. So it's going to go, you're not going to get to make a presentation without council's consent. I don't know what you want to do. And we can have the discussion, but in order to have the discussion, I have to open the agenda item.
If I may address that. So what I just heard is that people who are not on this council have a greater right to get their presentations on the agenda than the people who are actually sitting up here at the dais. Because right now, we have presentations coming in on the regular, and those people were not given a presentation slot by a vote of city council. So what I hear is that we're actually taking the position right now that we have less of a right to speak in our own chamber than those people do.
Okay. Council, this question, the first question before us is, do we want to open this agenda item and have this discussion? If we do, then we should have a motion to open the agenda item. Councilmember Chambers.
I'm going to try a motion. My motion is that we do not change our council rules of procedure.
Seconded.
I mean, that takes this item out of here. That's my intent. Does that do it?
No, we still have an item on the agenda.
Okay, all right. Well, then I withdraw that motion because I'm just trying to say I don't want any changes. So,
Also, as you move forward, I just wanted to correct one point. Nobody has a right to make any presentation. Council has an agenda for city business. If people sometimes want to make a presentation, that is usually weighed through the city manager. And if it's a community partner, say, who wants to make a presentation, generally, we recognize that council's going to say okay to that. And therefore, they get on the agenda. But when you use the word right, nobody has a right to make a presentation in front of council.
Vice Mayor?
Yes, to that point, I think we need to define, I hate to do this because we're lost in the weeds, but we need to define presentation, okay? As I see it, there's a presentation by the public, there's a presentation by other governmental agencies.
Vice Mayor, point of order. We need to decide whether we're going to have this discussion and open the agenda item before we have the discussion. Are we going to have this discussion by opening the agenda item, or are we not? That's the first step, and then you can get the floor first if you, but we haven't decided to have this discussion. So
Okay, I move to open the item for discussion.
is there a second?
I'll second to have the discussion, but I don't,
The motion is to open the agenda item.
and then I'll second to open the agenda item so that we can discuss.
Okay. There's a motion by Vice Mayor Schisler, seconded by Councilmember Fernandez to open the agenda item. Is, all those in favor say aye.
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 No. One nay. Okay, so the discussion is now open for the agenda item. Vice Mayor Schisler.
Okay. I feel like we're getting lost in the weeds on this. We have discussed, we opened a presentation, and in the last meeting, there was some talk about who gets to do a presentation, what's the presentation about. And the presentations that are made in the presentation section are done by other governmental agencies, other outside agencies, civic groups, the Red Cross, whoever. And they come in and they present information so that we know what's going on in the area. I feel that the presentations that council members want to make is council business, and it doesn't fall under the same classification. We, as a body, need to approve a council member's presentation. City manager, in my mind, would approve an outside presentation being made. So to that extent, I believe that we need to limit, better define if we need to. Unfortunately, I hope we don't have to do that. But if a council member wants to bring up something, then as far as I can remember, it's always been, this is what I'd like to bring up, but if council's amenable to it, then we do it. And if not, then it doesn't happen. And that's the way I would like to see it moving forward.
Councilmember Fernandez.
So my thought is that this is council business. This is the time when council brings something up and says, I would like to discuss this. I would like to know if we can discuss this at a future meeting. I would like to know what council thinks of this. These are my thoughts. I think that if we have a situation where it impacts the city as a whole, and we want to bring information, and we are a council person who wants to bring information in front of the rest of the council, then we bring it up at council business, and the council says, I think that that's good information, we should bring that information in a form of a presentation. If we are in a situation where, as a council person, I feel that I wasn't clear enough at a previous meeting, or there was discussion that somehow I didn't think that my words were accurately characterized, I would just bring that up at council business and say, this is what I intended by my words, or this is why I said what I said. I don't think that that needs to be an agenda item that would come up in council business. So I don't believe that we should make any changes in the methodology that we are currently using and the rules we're adhering to, which is if a council member wants something in front of this body, then the council member brings it up at council business and the council discusses it.
That's about my feelings.
Councilmember Kravitz, anything?
I just have one brief comment. If we set up a system where you need a 3 to 2 vote just in order to present something or say something, that is incredibly chilling for minority rights. And sometimes you'll have situations where one person wants to present or say something, or two people do. And if you have a situation where the majority can always cut off the right of the minority to speak, that is absolutely contravening Robert's Rules of Order as I understand them, which says that all members of an assembly have a right to express their thought and that the debate is not concluded until everyone has said what they want to say. And also, it is of course also not what free speech is about. And words never hurt anyone. Words are thought, they are not action. And of course they can be hurtful, but in a body like this, which is based on the use of the word, where we all talk to each other to try and come up with solutions, to say that any 3 people should be able to shut down any other 2 people at any time, I find that very problematic. And of course you can have a motion to close debate, but you cannot preempt someone's right to express their thought on something. So that's where I'm at on this. And I also think that the way that it's been done for 50, 60 years where you have a cutoff date, and this is the practice that has been applied. And I have evidence from many agendas where it says, due by XYZ, you submit it, it goes on the agenda. That is also part of Robert's Rules of Order. It says that custom has force of law in Robert's Rules of Order if they're adopted by a resolution of assembly, as we've done. So we've adopted Robert's Rules of Order as law through this resolution here that's laying around somewhere. And Robert's Rules of Order say, if you have had a custom of doing something a particular way, then that is how the assembly does it, and they need to have a vote to change it. So I know that's what we're all discussing, but I would really caution about saying 3 people can shut other 2 people down whenever they would like. And just going back and looking at the genesis of this, it was never in question that people up here could say what they want to say. The question that led to this whole discussion, unbelievably to me, is, can I use a PowerPoint while I'm speaking? That is the issue. That is the original gangster question that we're talking about up here. And from there, we're now talking about what is a main motion? Should we change our rules of business? It's an aid to speech. I could come with a little paper flip chart, I suppose, but not use a PowerPoint. And if that is the sacrifice that everyone up here has to make so that we don't cut off minority rights to speak, if someone wants to talk about an unpopular topic, then I'm fine with that. So I'm with everyone else so far. Let's just keep it the way it was. I didn't want this discussion. I didn't start this discussion. It came from the city manager. So here we are. And I'll finish it with a motion to table. So I motion to table this topic.
Wait, I didn't get to discuss anything yet. I get a chance to speak.
Absolutely you do.
Okay. So are you done?
I'll withdraw my motion to table. You can have the floor, absolutely.
Okay, so let me frame the question here a little bit. Chapter 15 of Robert Rules gives the chair responsibility to interpret and apply the order of business and to decide that, subject to appeal by a member of the body and overturned by the body. So after wide consultation and some research of my own, it is this chair's decision that any council member may bring up any new topic for discussion during council business or new business. That has been the practice for all of history as far as I know. I don't know. Any council member can bring up any new business or topic that they want to talk about during council business or new business without previous being on the agenda, without anything. You can have it in your mind, you can bring it up without, and the majority cannot stop that. Nobody can stop that as long as it's not a violation of some section of the rules. But so after wide consultation and some research, it is this chair's opinion that a council member may bring stuff up. Presentations are different under Robert's Rules. And under Robert's Rules, as has been our practice for many decades and is common practice on all the other boards that I serve on with Hillsborough County, with the state of Florida, I couldn't find one board that doesn't have this same practice based in Robert's Rules, and that is a presentation requires the consent of the body to say that they want to hear a presentation on that topic. That's different than council business or new business. And so what distinguishes one from another, I don't know. It doesn't say in chapter 3, verse 4 that what the distinguishment is, but there's a difference between bringing something up under council discussion and or new business and making a presentation. This has always been our practice. I agree with Councilmember Kravitz that this has been the practice. This is not representing a change. And so that is the decision of the chair. Now, the appeals process is that if somebody on this board wants to make an appeal, they can do that. They make a motion of appeal. It has to receive a second, and then there's discussion and a vote like any other motion would be made. And by a majority vote of the body, the chair can be overruled. If you think that I have misapplied the rules or misinterpreted the rules, that would be the appropriate avenue for appeal. if the body overturns the decision of the chair on appeal, then you would next need to decide what is the next, where did I err, and what is the procedure going to be? And so this is where we are, unless somebody at this point, if you wanted to make a motion of appeal, now would be the appropriate time to do so.
Don't we have a motion in a second? We were on the discussion.
I'm sorry?
Didn't we have a
No.
motion in a second?
No.
We voted.
We only,
We did that.
we
already.
opened the agenda item. So there's no motion on the floor now, there could be. Councilmember Kravitz.
So I'd like to motion to table this because we have a lot of other things to get to.
No, there's no tabling it. The chair has rendered a decision and interpretation. If there's an appeal, there's an appeal. There's nothing more other than an appeal to do. There's nothing to table.
Sorry, you made a decision about how the procedures are going to be interpreted, but this agenda item is still on the table. Your decision is separate from the agenda item. You don't resolve the
Okay.
agenda item by your decision. Your decision, fine, but let's close this item and move on. That's my
No,
suggestion.
the decision has been made. The chair has made a decision per Chapter 15 of Robert's Rules. It will not be brought back up
So-
unless there's an appeal,
The agenda item is now closed under your interpretation?
unless there's an appeal.
Great, that's fine. I withdraw my motion.
You didn't have a motion, sir. What was your motion?
I motion to table, sir.
Then the motion's out of order.
I withdrew
The
it.
only,
Can we not go crazy here? It's fine. We're done with the agenda item. Thank you. All right, I yield the floor to the chair. Thank you.
Okey dokey. Is there anybody else who wants to make a motion of appeal?
No.
Okay, then, next item of business. Next item of business is,
I have a couple of items.
yes, go ahead, Councilmember Fernandez.
I don't know if you'd want to do them in, because I brought them up before in council business.
that's fine.
or new- Okay, so one is, I just wanted to ask if the city manager could give us an update on the comprehensive plan update, if there's any kind of time period or the surveys or whatever new information that we need to give out.
So as actually Mr. Loeb was referencing, the Regional Planning Commission staff was at River Jam, and they have a QR code now where they're trying to gather some initial feedback from the community. I would imagine, although I've not checked, I would imagine that's probably on their website. In fact, what we can do is, actually, Mr. Polly's there. We'll look tomorrow to see about actually, if they have that information available on their website, also putting it on our website. We've also had some discussions since the last meeting with the staff at the Planning Commission. As council will recall, when the commission representatives were here, I believe Councilmember Fernandez, you had a question about additional input with the council. And they have offered to meet with the council in a workshop setting once they get some initial community feedback starting next year in '26 when they plan to start their process. And meet with the council in a workshop setting. They offered at least once, if not more times, to satisfy whatever the council's desire might be relative to that input of that process.
Okay, and then I just, one other item, and that is the fluoride or the agriculture bill did pass. I know sorry, I was on vacation last week, but the last that I read was that it was on the governor's desk. What would be the procedure if the governor does sign it? What would be the procedure for the city in order to remove fluoride from the water?
So, first of all, we wouldn't be removing fluoride from
Or
the
just
water?
not adding,
Yes, we would be
sorry.
adding, correct. So the bill, you're correct, the bill was passed by both houses. Not sure, as of this afternoon, I don't think the governor had signed, at least I'm not aware of that. But what I have recommended what I'm thinking recommending to the council is, we are down to the very last supply of our fluoride chemical as it is. If council is comfortable with this, what I would suggest is, the law itself will go into effect July 1, pending the governor's signature first, obviously. Once the governor signs, let's say the governor signs tomorrow, we would not plan to order any new fluoride. We would just let the current supply run its course. It will probably be gone in terms of being expended in the system well before July 1 at this point, based upon when we have. If you're comfortable with that, that's the direction we'd proceed.
Oh, well, that's what we discussed before. I don't know that we ever formally adopted a vote. I mean, it's,
No. I just wondered if there was any action that this body would need to take. I know he hasn't signed it yet.
council, is that still our wishes that we just let it run out? Yes.
Yes. Okay, that's all I have.
Okay. Councilmember Chambers, did you have?
It's board reports, sorry.
Board reports, okay. Council business.
I had two pieces of old business. They're very old. I'll wait till Mr. Bay is done. Way back before your time, I had brought up an issue with, I know people are gonna laugh, grease traps, and our grease trap ordinance. Not a whole lot, I haven't heard a whole lot about that in quite a while. And I don't want, not tonight, but if you could put that on your huge list of stuff, that we could maybe get a report on that someday, as well as the 56th and Bullard intersection pipes that are bent and twisted, and the stormwater and the wastewater, not stormwater, the wastewater. There was a project that we initiated many, many, many years ago, and I don't know that it's completed. It might be, but I'm not sure. Jason's looking at me.
I may just ask for clarification.
Yeah.
You said 56 in Bullard. Were you referencing 56 in River Hills, South
No,
River Hills?
56 and Bullard.
56 in Bullard.
Yeah. It was an I&I project that was being done, and there was some significant issues with it. But anyway, I just wanted to put that on your radar.
We'll look into both of those. I know we have a grease trap program that was started, actually restarted a year or so ago, but we'll bring you back a report on
Just
both
curious,
items.
make sure that we're getting there.
Okay.
I'm good.
Councilmember Kravitz?
So we're in new business. Just a couple.
We're still in council business.
Okay. I just have a few comments here. I'm gonna work through them, and then I'll yield the floor expeditiously. So when it comes to Riverside Park, I wanted to float the idea just for discussion. Please let me know what you think. I talked about this with the city manager previously, about where we might position the parking at Riverside Park. So I know the current plan is that it will go in the main park itself. And I just wanted to put out there, it could make sense to put it on Springdale Place. You, first of all, won't be impacting traffic going down River Hills Drive. And on top of that, that land right along that road to the east of the retention pond is not core to the park. And so it makes more sense to me personally to sacrifice that for parking than it would to build the parking directly in the park itself. Just wanted to put that out there as a possibility. Next item is on code enforcement. So I discovered in my discussions last week, the new hire that's coming in to replace Mr. Baroni is going to be tasked with developing a system of metrics. So I wanted to ask, generally speaking, if there is a budget item for software for that system of metrics, or if we need to create a budget item so that we make sure that that money is available when the time comes. Third item is about reforestation. So I know we're at 528 trees planted after Hurricane Milton, with about 15,000 estimated losses of trees. And every week, every 2 weeks or so, I'll try and figure out how many trees have been planted, and the number seems to be moving up incredibly slowly. I thought the golf course right-of-way was a really good option in terms of reforestation for the city. And I was thinking, how can we use our resources to tackle that issue? So I wanted to see if there's any stomach among us to use funding from the tree fund to have infrastructure in place in our public right-of-way along the golf course. If we identify areas that don't have trees in them right now, where we can build out infrastructure, where we can sustain those plantings, maybe we can tap into the irrigation system that they're using at the golf course. Just another thought. And finally, when it comes to downtown events, Councilmember Fernandez, I was thinking about all the great ideas that you've been bringing the last several weeks about having some kind of an event down there or building out that space to be sort of multi-purpose. We have about 100,000, I believe, in the Centennial budget, possibly as much as 160,000. I'm still a little bit unclear about how much is actually in there. But perhaps we could siphon off a little bit of that and use that to do sort of a trial balloon event downtown in the 1.5 acre, 2 acre space down there, right across from Winn-Dixie. And so those are 4 thoughts. I yield the floor to whoever would like it.
Other council business? I have one quick thing. I'll remind the council, I don't know, a couple of months ago, I asked the council for permission for me to update, to kind of take a look at the various boards that we have and the rules, because they don't always line up. So I've done that. But in the process of doing that, I think that what's occurred to me in talking to Deputy City Attorney and the City Clerk is that I think the appropriate way to deal with this would be the creation of a handbook that we give to board members. The handbook would be, the first part of the handbook would be general rules of conduct and expectations of the city for all the boards. And then section 2 would be the unique board that they are appointed to, with the roles and responsibilities that might be unique to that particular board, code board or BOA or something like that. So that's the direction that I'd like to take, as long as you're okay with that. But in order to do that, I'd like to pump the brakes a little bit, because we're about to get a new city clerk and a new city attorney. And I think that those are the two key people to be involved in the development of this handbook. And so I just wanted to give you an update and make sure that I'm still tracking along the direction that you wanted this to track along. But I think it might be a good idea. We're going to name a new city clerk, and within the next few months, a new city attorney. We're going to have 2 new people on board, so.
Question.
Yes, Councilmember.
Can we just, so for this process, because one of the things that I would like included in this handbook would be the original, or whatever the mission statement or the purpose is in effect right now. Maybe not the original, maybe they've changed it since then, but in addition to the rules of how that board operates, maybe a little background of the purpose, the mission statement, et cetera, so I'm completely in favor of this. The process, though, when the time comes, when we have a new city attorney, we have a new city clerk, is that going to be something that they're going to collaborate and bring a draft to city council? Okay, and then we will say,
Yeah, no, it would have, the product would have to be approved by council. It wouldn't be anything to.
I'm not asking, are we going to be providing the draft and then?
No.
That's what I don't want to do.
That's why I think it's wise to wait till the new people are involved. And there may be some associated rule changes to some of the boards at the same time, but this week, we could kind of do this as one holistic project.
Chance to clean it up.
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah. Okay. Councilmember
Quick
Kraft.
additional comment, sorry about this, I forgot earlier.
That's okay.
We have received one additional flag submission, which is very beautiful. And I emailed.
Okay, well, can we finish with this first, and then I'll call on you, because we're still on this.
Oh, yeah.
So we're good with the board thing? Okay, Councilmember Kravitz, back to the flag.
Yeah, so I emailed Maria Rodriguez, and I suggested that she maybe do a little bit more promotion. So we talked about that previously in February. There was a little bit of friction, but ultimately it's been exclusively reliant on me reaching out to people, the marketing effort, and I'd love to have a little more support on that. I think that we'd reach a broader audience if we used more city resources to reach a broader spectrum of people. For example, I don't send out mail pieces. I don't text message people, and I don't use social media. So we're missing a whole group of people there who might be interested in doing the flags. We've also reached out to everyone who previously submitted, all 22, and we've received, I think, 3 or 4 replies. So as of right now, we have 1 submission that fully complies with the NAVA guidelines, several submissions, 3 or 4 that don't. And I think it would be great to do a push going into the next 4 to 8 weeks. So.
City manager, are we able to provide?
Yes, sir. Yeah, if the council wants us to do it, absolutely. Yeah, we'll move forward. Social media, I don't, just for clarification, you mentioned direct mail. I wasn't planning on, we don't really do direct mail, but we could do social media, put it on the website, if that would be satisfactory to you, Councilmember Kravitz.
Yeah, of course. Thank you.
Okay. Anything else?
Take any help I can get. Thank you very much. No, that's all. I yield the floor.
Okay, council discussion. That's all I have currently. Any other carryover council business? Okay, moving on to new business. Discussion regarding a city attorney succession plan. I think all of you know that the city attorney is retiring after many years of service, and she's looking more peaceful every day. And so I think your final day of work is July 10th, is that correct? And so As a body, we need to decide what we want to do here, whether we want to go out in a process like we are with the city clerk, or what would be my preference is that you empower me to offer the job to the deputy city attorney and begin negotiations with him, but that's just my view. But we as a body need to figure out what we want to do, because if we're going to, whatever we're going to do, we need to kind of start. And so, Vice Mayor.
To your point, I'm all in favor of empowering you to negotiate with the deputy city attorney. I'm all in favor of growing our own, but with the provision that we look to backfill, so that we don't have any backfill in that position, so that we have the same depth that we currently enjoy now.
Okay.
Second.
Well, that's not really a motion yet.
I've got a couple of minutes to get this right.
You want to say ditto, or is that?
Ditto.
Okay. Councilmember Fernandez?
Yes, I can live with that. I have been a little bit skeptical of an in-house attorney and not a larger firm. Just that, and I know that discussion has been had in the past, but I would like us to just have that discussion in the public setting, so that people know that the reason why the city has chosen an in-house counsel versus an outside firm. But I'm not against negotiating with our current deputy city attorney.
Okay. So I'd be interested, I mean, you were been on the council previously, so in my mind anyway, just my opinion, there were some very good reasons why we abandoned that model and went to in-house counsel. And I think it's worked very, very successfully. So I'm just curious, would like to understand what you think the perceived advantages of going back would be.
Well, it's not so much that there were pros and cons to both. And it's not so much that I think that we should go back to that, but I think that it's important to have the discussion so that people know why we chose to leave that model and go to an in-house attorney model. And the reason that the advantages of having one of those large firms is that they had an expert in every area that the city used. So for example, they had somebody who sat here and they were the expert in city law and to advise the council. But then when we needed a real estate purchase, they had an expert in real estate. Or if we had a contract negotiation, they had an expert in contract negotiations. So there was always within that firm, we didn't have to go outside of that firm. It was more expensive because of the rates that you're going to pay. And so then the question becomes, well, we have in-house counsel, and we do still need to go to outside counsel for periodic instances that come up in front of the council, maybe a purchase of, I don't know, development agreement, or I don't really know the exact examples to give you, but so then we're paying for the in-house counsel, but we do still have to use the external counsel at times. Is that more cost effective versus just having a full external counsel? So that's the only thing I just want to, I'm not opposed to having an internal counsel. I just want to make sure that we have the discussion so that people know that we've weighed the pros and cons and decided that in-house counsel is the better choice.
Councilmember Chambers.
I'm not going to ditto that one. We've had this discussion years ago, and I was working, but I wasn't on council. And those came up, and they were legitimate concerns, and they still are, but it has clearly worked having a in-house counsel. I'm not willing to have a debate or a discussion on it just to rehash it unless we have an issue with what's going on now, and I don't. So that's my opinion on it.
Well, I'm not asking for a debate. I'm just saying let's lay out why so that people know why we've made the choice we've made.
But we made this decision 10 years ago. I don't know why we have to open this up either.
Because now's the time when we're discussing, are we going to have a new in-house counsel, or are we?
No, that's not the question before us. The question before us is, are we gonna go out and recruit somebody, or are we going to offer it to the second? And that's the question. It's not whether we're gonna go back to the old model. That's not the question. I don't know why we would wanna have that. I mean, unless you wanna have, if that's a legitimate, if you.
It is a concern I have.
If you're proposing that that is what we do, then that's a discussion that we have to have. But if we're just doing it for academic reasons, then that's the wrong.
The reason I'm bringing it up is because there are people in the public that have come to me and suggested that we do return to that model. And that's the reason I just want to be able to state at this venue why it is not advisable to return to that model, why this model has been a better cost-effective measure and model for the city than having the external, even though the external law firm had an expert at every different aspect of law that the city may have used, why this is a better model. And the reason is people are asking now because we're at a transition point. That's all. It's not a debate. I mean, I'm not interested in debating. I just want to state it.
Councilmember Kravitz.
So I think we need both, because I think the city could really benefit from more legal advice from what I've seen. And I think that we have a situation where a lot of the routine, everyday things can certainly be handled in-house. But I also think that we're dealing with multi-million-dollar transactions on a regular basis, all of which have a lot of complexity and nuance. And having outside counsel to bring in to look at those with an appropriate budget that we then set aside in addition to whatever in-house budget we have would really, really help us. And I also think, to the other points raised, I'm not strongly opinionated about who ultimately gets the job, but I definitely think, given that we got 400 applicants for the city clerk, and including JDs who applied, we owe it to everyone to have a transparent process, including the deputy attorney, because I think that giving him the job without having him go through the process of competing with whoever else might apply is also a little bit unfair. So I think that we owe it to everyone to have a fully transparent, open process where everyone can apply. And I'm sure that the deputy attorney will definitely have a leg up just because everyone knows him. But I think that it's the way to go to use all the legal resources that we need to address the issues that we're up against, whether they're in-house or outside of the city. And finding the people who know best is really important. And believe me, no lawyer is an expert in every area of law. And the variety of law that we deal with on a day-to-day basis here is intense and multifaceted. And there is a lot of risk and a lot of nuance that needs to be captured, or we make mistakes. So that's where I'm at on this.
I have absolutely no appetite to go to an outside law firm. I believe that prior to my being on council, I know what it was like to try to deal with the outside counsel, even as a resident constituent. It was very difficult. I like having the in-house counsel, and our in-house counsel's wise enough and has been wise enough to know when they need help and when they don't need help necessarily. So I really don't see the need to open it up to that discussion again. I think that we've been very fortunate, proven themselves time and time again to be the best effective methodology for the city.
So neither am I interested in having this. Oh, wait a minute, I got the floor now.
I know, I'm not.
Well, you brought it up. You can't, so, okay, my 2 cents on this is I have no appetite for going back either. I was on council when Mayor Chalura, I think, was the author of this idea, and I think it was probably one of the best ideas he had. He had good ideas, but I think this was a tremendous idea. And this is no dig on Mark Connolly from Shoemaker Loop, who was our assigned attorney. He's a great attorney. It wasn't anything at all wrong with Mark. But we realized there were goals that we had, specific reasons we wanted to go to in-house, and it's been wildly successful. Number one is we wanted to create an environment where the directors and staff had easy access to the attorneys and they didn't have to worry about the meter running every time you called, right? When we had $300 an hour meter running, when they pick up the phone in 15-minute increments, you don't want to call them unless you really have a specific, right? You want to just bounce this around the lawyer. You don't want to call and pay $300 an hour to do that. Two is, that model, there's absolutely zero ability for them to be proactive. When we had outside counsel, as good as he was, I would hire Mark as the city attorney. It wasn't a question of his legal prowess, but when he's a contract lawyer, he can't do anything proactively. We had a huge backlog of liens on old code cases, on old utility bills. We had hundreds of thousands of dollars of outstanding liens that sat there for years and years and years and years and years. There was no way he could propose to us that he go through these and see if he can resolve them, because it looks like he's feathering his own nest. $300 an hour, yeah, I want to go through these old cases. No, we're not paying you thousands of dollars to go through this stuff to see if you can resolve it. Since Ms. Shoshone has been here, she has cleaned up hundreds of thousands of dollars in old liens. Our liens list now is minuscule. She's brought in tens of thousands of dollars, maybe hundreds of thousands of dollars in lien resolutions for cases that we never got before under the old model, and we never would have gotten. I'm a little, you're right, not every attorney has every, certainly that is true. But I think we're undervaluing the experience of our two attorneys. They have decades of city attorney experience locally. Decades. They're very sought after attorneys. They have navigated us through several thorny arbitration cases in HR that would have cost us tens of thousands of dollars. And Ms. Shoshone has done it. I mean, some of these things have taken her months. It's a good thing we had the deputy city attorney here, because she was locked up doing arbitrations. We have seen the quasi-judicial board presentations that our deputy city attorney has done. He's educated the BOA, the code board, on the public meeting laws and all that, and done far more than what contract attorney could do. So I would be happy to meet with any member of the public who thinks that we would benefit from going back, because I could go on all night about why we don't want to go back.
Which you just did exactly what I wanted us to do. I'm not proposing that we return to that model.
Okay.
I'm proposing that we explain to the public why we don't return to that model.
Why didn't you do that?
I think I said that. So that was exactly what I was asking this board to do.
Okay. So the question before the board is, do we want to offer the job to the deputy city attorney, in which case we need to negotiate a contract, or do we want to advertise the position and solicit responses? That's the question.
Need a motion? Or do we...
Well, we will need a motion, but if there's discussion, we can have discussion before the motion or after, either one.
I've said my piece on it.
Well, we make a motion then. If you...
Do we move to authorize the mayor to enter into discussions with the deputy city attorney to assume the role of the city attorney upon Ms. Shoshone's retirement, and to backfill the deputy position in due course?
Second.
Motion and second. Discussion of the motion. Councilmember Kravitz.
I can only reiterate what I said before. I think we got 400 applicants for the city clerk position. I think it's important to have a transparent process. Even if we end up giving it to the deputy attorney, I think it is really important for everyone to see that we considered everyone fairly, that we got an accurate assessment of who else could be a good candidate, and that we made a decision based on the inputs that we were receiving. So my strong urging is that we apply the same process that we did for the city clerk to the city attorney's office. And on the other topic, I think we need more attorneys at the city, because the complexity of the legal stuff that we're dealing with is high. There's a lot of it. It's constant. We need people in-house and we need people out of house in order to address all these things adequately. So I hope I can persuade someone about this. If not, that's okay. I'll be one for then. But I think we need a transparent process where we look at all the talent. We got hundreds of applicants for the other role. It's very much in demand for people to come here. And I think it's essential that we go through a process where we're really evaluating what are our needs, who can best meet them, and not just go with who's in front of us. Not that we can not do that in the end, but I think we owe it to everyone to at least consider what else is out there and make a decision based on a process and not just a feeling. So, I yield the floor.
Other discussion? If not, all those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? 1 nay. Thank you. There is the issue, I guess I never got to this in the discussion part, the issue of residency. There is no city rule that requires the city clerk or the city attorney to be a resident of the city. That rule applies to the city manager and the charter. So if somebody has a mind to make a motion that be a requirement, but a new city rule or a requirement, it would be a good time to make that rule now. Okay. All righty. Vice Mayor, you had a board report?
Yeah, I wanted
And you
to,
have a board report.
oops.
Okay, Vice Mayor. No, you're first.
It's been a while since we've had any kind of heart updates, and just want to give everybody a brief update. Yesterday, we were successful in bringing forth charter reviews. There were three charter issues were brought up to the Heart Board of Directors, and they were all approved. One dealing with composition of the board, one dealing with activities or requirements of the members of the board, and one dealing with a ad valorem increase for the funding of Heart. All three of these will have to be brought forward to City of Temple Terrace, City of Tampa, BOC, Board of County Commissioners twice. The only one that has to go into referendum is the tax increase. So that'll have to go before the BOCC 2 times for approval. There's going to be headwinds, but I think it's something that's going to have to be done. The Heart Board has to approve the verbiage because there were some slight changes yesterday, but that should be 3 unanimous approvals at the next board meeting next month, at which point we'll be we're requesting a time to be brought before this council at a later date, probably June, July time, end of June, early July timeframe, but so that it can become an agenda item. We, by charter, have to approve it. So, and we've been members of that group since 1979. The last charter review was done in, I think it was like 82 or 83. So it's coming down the pike, and it'll happen. Temple Terrace will be first, then Tampa, then the BOCC twice, for inclusion on the referendum in hopefully 2026.
So I know it's impossible to predict a date at this time, but there is a council meeting that I'm going to miss in August.
Oh, I'll make sure that everybody.
If we're going to discuss a charter revision that's going to raise potentially the millage rate on us,
Yep.
I don't want to miss that meeting.
Understood. Understood.
Okay,
I'll make sure everybody's here.
okay. Good. Anything else?
Nope, that's it.
You had a board report,
Yeah,
Councilmember
couple.
Chambers.
School Improvement Task Force, that's a new board that new board to me, that I'm liaison to. In the last couple months, they've been going over all the grants, and they'll be coming to you with some recommendations for a new mission statement, or stuff that hadn't been done in a while. They've worked extremely hard, and I've been very impressed with this group. Thank you. All the other boards, too. Also, if anybody's noticed in the hallway, the art gallery in the hallway has new art. So that is a 2-month display from our local artist, Terry Claren. So it's up there. Please look at it. Out there in TV land, please come to City Hall and look at the art. You can avoid all the offices if you want, but just come into the art and see it. It's absolutely beautiful. That's it, sir.
Thank you, Councilmember. Any other new business or board reports? Vice Mayor.
Did you have any plans on talking about Saturday before the meeting was over?
No,
If not,
you can go.
I just want to make
Go right ahead.
absolute outstanding weekend. Everybody, Public Works, Leisure Services, the police, the fire service.
The city.
Just the whole city was well represented by you guys did a fantastic job. I heard one complaint, and that was somebody had to walk up a hill and it was not ADA compliant. Oh well, be careful. But it was great, and even the weather cooperated. It was hot, but there was a breeze. So it was just outstanding. It was outstanding. Thank you.
And all the organizations that set up their booths.
Yes.
And everybody.
It was terrific. It was. We're good. Other new business or board reports? If not, city manager's report.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of council. Just wanted to highlight for the public that in the backup this evening, there are the quarterly reports for the fiscal year, budget goals, and the ARPA projects. Happy to stand for questions.
Council members, any questions on the city manager's quarterly report? No.
Thank you.
Very good.
That's all I have.
Nothing else. City attorney's report.
As you mentioned earlier about lien reductions, we have a lien reduction report this evening, and I'm going to call on the Deputy City Attorney, Mr. Mueller, to provide the details of that.
Good evening, Mr. Mueller.
Good evening, Mayor, Council. Bringing this to you because this particular lien reduction has a couple of different dimensions to it. The property is 512 Caroline Street, and the case was heard by the Code Enforcement Board back in June of 2022. And the structure there was severely deteriorated, and the property itself was stacked with lots of used windows and other debris. And the Code Board found that the property owners were in violation and issued a $75 a day fine that would accrue until those violations were corrected. There was no progress toward correcting them, so the city made the decision to take this matter to court. And so in July of 2024, we did take it to court, and within a month, the property owner sold that property. So the city entered into a compliance agreement with the new owner. The compliance agreement says that we understand you are going to be buying this property. You understand there's a code enforcement lien on here, and you're going to be taking the property with the lien on it. However, if you correct all these violations by a certain time, we would, reduce the lien to such a time, or to such an amount. So the new property owners demolished most of that structure, left up the walls because they're going to rebuild, and they removed all the windows and the debris from the property. The Code Enforcement Department went ahead and considered those violations corrected. At that time, the fines had accrued to over $60,000, but pursuant to that compliance agreement, the city has received $5,682.50 as settlement.
Is that property up for sale now, or is it?
I do not believe that it is.
Okay, all right.
There was interest in selling it, I think, again, but my last discussion with the present property owner was he was not going to sell it.
Okay, good.
Thank you, Mr. Miller. Mr. Sohn.
That's all I have this evening.
Very good. Is there other business, council members?
I have one other thing.
Yes, Councilmember
Can I
King.
ask Ms. Cabrera to get my tablet before you leave, please? Thank you.
Other business. If not, we will stand adjourned.